On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Yes, Pooh has definitely been behind this, it seems, but not likely manure. Having fun with that one. We're not going to bury that lead too far, don't you worry. We got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, stuff with the shutdown. I've got all sorts of different people that we've got video of talking about what's happening. Some stuff with President Trump kind of pushing forward with this healthcare plan. What else? We got so much. We got some stuff going on with Russia. Probably one of the biggest groups of stories. I think that's a lot of it. We'll see. Got so much going on. I can't even pretend to try to help. Now, just as a reminder to everybody. Again, like I said, I'm not burying the lead at all. We're going to cover this Clinton stuff right out of the gate. But did you guys know, and I'd forgotten about this, frankly. I remembered this back then. I mean, I was a happy conspiracy theorist back in those days, and this was talked about for sure. But did you know about the coincidence between the Oklahoma City bombing and Hillary Clinton's Whitewater documents being destroyed? Reminder, this building in Oklahoma City was blown up and destroyed just 4 days before Hillary Clinton was to be indicted in the Whitewater scandal. All documents were lost. Here's John Solomon talking about the way Jack Smith was actually scuttling some of the investigations into Hillary Clinton. She's always been protected, folks. Protected class. She's been the stuff she was doing when her and her husband were in Arkansas were, off the charts. I don't even want to fully speculate. I mean, we're reasonably sure they're heavily involved in the drug trade, and the CIA was flying stuff in and out of there, and so there was a lot to it. But we also a lot of rabbit holes to suggest there's a whole lot of other horrendous stuff that was happening through Arkansas. And I believe at the time they took charge, Arkansas was like the 50th worst state in the country. Like, it was just literally like the poorest, nastiest, grossest state. And Arkansas has become much more, it seems, since. I wonder why. Again, a lot of weird things. All that said, here's John Solomon talking about the Jack Smith piece of it, a little more recent stuff.
All right, let me turn to a story that we broke earlier this week. We told you, I think on Monday night, we broke it on the show, that the FBI had transmitted new documents to Congress on the Clinton Foundation, new examples of alleged corruption that occurred there, and efforts to thwart the investigation of the Clinton Foundation. Some of those documents also involved efforts to investigate the Clinton campaign's funding of the Steele dossier. Well, today we learned in new documents that my good colleague Jerry Dunleavy just put up that the Justice Department under Joe Biden was trying to use Special Prosecutor Jack Smith to scuttle any FBI or DOJ investigation into the Clinton campaign's funding of the Steele dossier. Why is that news? Well, first off, we didn't know that they were criminally interested in investigating Hillary Clinton's campaign for that funding. But two, we now tied together Jack Smith's investigation to Russia collusion. Now you begin to understand why FBI Director Kash Patel said he thought it was a grand conspiracy, that all these things to get Trump are connected, from Jack Smith and Lois Lerner in 2014 at the IRS, to the Russia collusion, to Ukraine impeachment, to the raid on Mar-a-Lago, to Jack Smith's investigation. And it turns out that Jack Smith has a direct connection to Russia collusion now in these new documents. More over at justthenews.com on that.
And obviously why Jack Smith was chosen by Merrick Garland. And never even properly put in, because he never would have gotten confirmed. He was so woefully hated. So I wonder if that would have been a blue slip thing. Whatever the case is, they just skirt the law. It's so funny how the names they call Trump, and at the same time the things they do themselves. It's fantastic. Tucker Carlson dropped something, a hint anyways, and now we've got the actual story too, but I wanted to give you the hint first. The FBI told us Thomas Crooks tried to kill Donald Trump last summer, but somehow had no online footprint. The FBI lied, and we can prove it because we have his posts. The question is why? Story tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is now today. Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? I'm going to kick this up, though, a little bit faster. It is 5:48. I have not listened to it, so I pray it's good. But I don't know. It seemed like a big story. Check it out.
These remarks were especially notable because they came at the final phase of Crooks's YouTube commenting. At that point, a new character emerged into the conversation, a user named Willie Tepes, who started pressuring Crooks to commit violence. For example, quote, "If a gun and a badge is all that is needed, then authority obviously comes from the barrel of a gun. We have more guns than they do. There is no way we can avoid a war at this point, so you better just get used to the idea. We have nothing to lose and everything to win. And the alternative, a global police state, is unacceptable. Nothing in life is simple, but that is no argument against doing it." So who is this Willie Tepes? Unfortunately, we don't know. The FBI hasn't made any mention of him in public, although they certainly know he exists. Just days after the shooting, somebody screenshotted Tepes' YouTube account page, despite the fact he had very few followers. To the extent that he can be traced online now, you can find his username being used on a foreign Antifa website. Those sites link him to the Nordic Resistance Movement, which has been designated a terrorist group by the U.S. State Department. That's all we know. We do know, however, that Crooks' online footprint abruptly ends after his encounter with this mysterious figure, Willie Tepes. Regardless of whoever Willie Tepes is or was and what his motives may have been, who he may have been working for, there is no doubt that Crooks was ripe for recruitment by someone. From early 2019 to mid-2020, as his political views were evolving, Crooks searched for Trump more than 700 times online. He also searched for Jack Ruby, the man who assassinated Lee Harvey Oswald. He then submitted queries for craziest chemical reactions, cars running over protesters, best places for mass shooting El Paso, Trump Civil War, Orlando shooting reaction, firing an AR-15 as fast as possible, fertilizer bomb, how to make napalm, how to make a Molotov cocktail, mass shooting Canada, Oklahoma bombing, and sniper in Dallas shooting. He also searched for American Nazi Party, German national anthem 1933-1945, Hitler speeches with subtitles, neo-Nazis, and quote, why gays need to go. So here you have a volatile, troubled, possibly mentally ill young man with a long record of espousing violence in public. The FBI clearly knew he existed. And then you have, at the very end of his years commenting in public, espousing violence, an exchange with a mysterious figure affiliated with a group that we know is being monitored by the U.S. State Department. It turns out that around the same time that Thomas Crooks was making these searches and posting overt threats of violence against public figures on YouTube, the FBI was issuing contracts to private sector tech surveillance firms to harness the power of mass data collection tools that would monitor social media for people just like Thomas Crooks. It's hard to imagine that Thomas Crooks, who was making these posts publicly and in his own name, had not been identified and looked at closely by federal law enforcement. In fact, it's impossible to imagine. What do we know? Well, we know that the FBI had access to these YouTube comments, and rather than giving us valuable information about them, giving us a sense of why Thomas Crooks did what he did, they used a selective read of those comments to lie about what Thomas Crooks was thinking. 2.5 weeks after the attack on July 30th, a source familiar with the investigation told CNN that, quote, federal investigators are looking into a YouTube account possibly connected to Crooks in which the user espoused political violence as well as anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes. Well, of course, it wasn't possibly connected to Thomas Crooks, as the FBI knew full well it was Thomas Crooks' account. There was never any question about that. And yet the same day, the FBI's then deputy director made the same dishonest claim before Congress. The week previous, then FBI Director Christopher Wray publicly questioned whether Trump was even shot.
With respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear.
In February 2025, the New York Post reported that, quote, the FBI has obstructed efforts to solve the mystery of why Thomas Matthew Crooks, who left no manifesto, did what he did. And this fact, said the Post, left local law enforcement as well as Crooks' former friends, classmates, and teachers frustrated. The level of lying and obstruction is shocking. Less than a month after the shooting, Congressman Clay Higgins of Louisiana, a former police officer, traveled to Butler to conduct his own investigation into what happened. When he arrived, he discovered a disturbing fact. The FBI released Crooks' body for cremation 10 days after July 13th. This wasn't known to the public until Higgins arrived in Butler on August 5th, when the coroner told the congressman, quote, he would never have released Crooks' body to the family for cremation or burial without specific permission from the FBI. The timing of Crooks' cremation is notable. The day Crooks' body was burned was also the day the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committees had begun their investigations into the shooting. The fact the body was cremated made it impossible for investigators outside the FBI to verify the coroner and autopsy report. You can't do a new tox screen because the body doesn't exist.
Tucker did a beautiful job there. He leaves out really one, I think, what requires a little more extra chat. And that is that software that the FBI was using that was able to scan social media to find posts similar to like what Crooks was making or that other individual, right? Well, what they don't say, and let me pose a question because it's the safer way to do it, and then at the same time, in parentheses within your mind, I want you to hold Dan Bongino and how pissed off he is and how much worse he's claimed it is than any of us realized. Now, what if, hypothetically, the FBI was using that software, and maybe the CIA, to find patsies? What if, hypothetically, They were literally looking for patsies and then would approach them and try to rile them into action. How much fun would it be being Kash Patel right now to have to speak to a level of corruption where our own FBI literally could have been possibly planning an assassination against Trump? How do you continue to have an FBI and have to explain that? You can't, as far as I can tell. Now, again, a lot of people will be like, take down the FBI, shouldn't be there anyway. I don't know. They do some good, I think. There's some things they've done and found, but I mean, I wouldn't be totally arguing that. There might be ways we could restructure, but still, the point is, how do you do that? The level of corruption that has been within our government, that many of us are aware of and want the truth to come out, can't ever come out. It would destroy any faith in the institution. Essentially what Antifa wants. Antifa wants anarchy. Anarchy is total, actual failure of government completely. That is when you've got roaming gangs running around and whoever's got the most guns, the most people with the most guns, controls. Cartels would instantly take control of every neighborhood across this nation. Instantly. Most of us aren't violent enough on our own and not able to organize quick enough to be able to handle having 6, 7 people come to our front door and kick it open. I don't care how many guns you got. You're probably going down, especially if they've got body armor and you don't. This is one of those things where what they were trying to create is, thank God didn't happen, because they were trying to disarm us too, so you might not even had an opportunity to try to even Second Amendment yourself. So things are way worse than we've ever realized. And they're way worse than they'll ever tell us. I mean, just like it or don't. I mean, it is what it is. But again, I'm not saying that's what it should be, but at the same time, I totally get why. I think most people wouldn't be able to handle the truth. Most. Over 80%. Would not. They'd just crush. They'd crumble. It wouldn't work. It would break everything. So sometimes, I don't know. I think it trips me out. People just, anyway. Documents detail Michigan Attorney General relationship with leftist nonprofits to target Trump and Republicans over the 2020 election disputes. So we literally had the Michigan Attorney General was working with the government back then to try to go after conservative people. Judicial Watch announced it received 5,789 pages of records from the Michigan Department of Attorney General in a Michigan Freedom of Information Act request that show the state's coordination with the nonprofit States United Democracy Center, which pushed indictments of President Trump's supporters, lawyers, activists, and Republican Party officials who disputed the 2020 elections. Indictments of Trump alternative electors by Michigan Democratic Attorney General Dana Nessel were thrown out by a judge earlier this year. The document suggested a broad conspiracy by several states to prosecute Americans over 2020 election disputes. Now, guess what? These things are still going. Special prosecutor assigned to Trump's 2020 Georgia election case with uncertain future. I think Fani Willis had to drop out, or Fani, however. But Fani had to drop out, right, because of her improprieties. But Peter Skandalakis, he's the executive director of Georgia's Prosecuting Attorneys Council, which was tasked with identifying a replacement. He appointed himself after reporting an inability to find someone else. Said several prosecutors were contacted, and while all were respectful and professional, each declined the appointment. Said out of respect for their privacy and professional discretion, I will not identify these prosecutors or disclose their reason for declining. Yet they are going to try to continue to push this case forward. Nevada Supreme Court, they revived their criminal case over Trump elector gambit. So again, all the other things aren't working, so now we've got this push again by all these states to try to do this elector stuff. So Nevada, literally the Supreme Court, had a 6-0 decision, comes just days after Trump pardoned dozens of allies, including the 6 defendants in Nevada, for any potential federal crimes. Now they're claiming this is a state crime. However, the president's pardons power do not extend to state-level offenses. Now, what I am curious about is the electors. I'm just curious. I'm not a lawyer. You guys know that. Never want to even try to pretend to be one. So I pose this to you guys. Any of you smart lawyery people, maybe you can throw it in the comments and help other people understand where I'm right or wrong in this case. But if the electors are all about the federal portion of it, right? The guys that basically sign off on who the state is sending to the federal government, is that still a state crime? Because inside the actual internal state, the electors don't matter, right? So I'm wondering, isn't that more a federal crime? At least the part that they're accusing them of wrongdoing. Again, I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe it's because they're impersonating or something strange. I mean, maybe they have a different way of spinning this law. But anyway, I find that to be very fascinating. We'll see. It's obviously not fair. It's much like poor Tina Peters being stuck in the Colorado jail right now. She should have been released already. Apparently, there's Wano Savins. I've 2 different shows I've heard about him where I swear to God, it sounded like he was going to have a stroke. And man, he's pissed. He's like, Trump, get on it. And I was like, first off, Juan, pump the brakes, dude. Pump the brake. What, Trump's going to kick down the door? Fuck, man, sometimes you trip me out, dude. She sometimes trips me out. That's all I can say. It's not like he ever listens to my show, for Christ's sake, but whatever. CanCon put this out. So the day after Christina Bobb publishes a whistleblower report about the illegitimate Attorney General of Arizona, Chris Mays, taking bribes to prosecute fake electors, Ed Martin posts a picture with Kurt Olson, the man who represented Kari Lake in the case that exposed massive corruption, not just in Arizona's elections, but in the severe obfuscation of being able to bring legitimate election fraud concerns in Maricopa County. Sure, that's just a coincidence, right? Like that's, other than the fact that friggin' word's obfuscate is easier to say when you're not all tensed up on it. Dadgummit. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so truth's coming, guys. It's coming like a freight train. And they know it. They're going to go after it in the few blue places they can. It is what it is. Portland's socialist disaster should be a wake-up call for Zohran Mamdani's New York voters. I mean, it's just someone, they talk about how really bad Portland is, how it's just failing, the homelessness, the businesses, just everything failing. And this is what's going to happen to New York. And then it'll make sense. I mean, but again, it's funny is a lot. I don't know. It seems like I was just criticizing this yesterday. It seems like people support this stuff within the cities, but really when you start to talk to people within Portland, overwhelmingly, people are like very, very against it. In fact, I think there's some, right here. 67% says Oregon's economy is pretty seriously off the wrong track. 67%. Independents are the largest voting bloc. 73% believe the state is on the wrong track. What do you think they're actually voting for? What do you think's happening? Or how many illegal votes do you think they have that are showing up to overvote these people? Again, that's a major, easy Supreme Court case. Every single voter that is voting that is not a legal voter disenfranchises a legal voter. There's a standing just based off that. I don't know how they got to do it legally. Whether it's just, through, election lawsuits or whatever, but every single individual, it's a done deal. If someone votes and shouldn't vote, they're taking away an actual vote from someone that does vote legally. 73%, and yet we keep seeing the same things, right? Seattle's the same way. They're, it's funny. They're in a mess. I was gonna play a video of the chick, but it's not worth it. But it's like Seattle's hurting bad for money. Hey, Seattle, I got an idea. Why don't you double parking fees and make it $120 to park? I think it's like what, $60-$80 to park in Seattle anywhere? Seriously, $60-$80. Last time I was there, it was like 50. It was like, holy crap, $50. We actually pulled into a parking lot. They scanned the VIN number on my brother's car before he even stopped moving. We could have been like, nah, we're going to turn around and be like, nah, you're paying us $50. Otherwise, you're getting a ticket. That's how fudged that city is. Talk about crazy. So there you go. Pritzker is also opposing Mayor Johnson's tax plans. Mayor Johnson wanted to tax any company with more than 100 people $21 a head just for having a business in the city. For the privilege is the way he looks at it, but he doesn't quite understand how much tax revenue businesses pay. And so this guy is trying to make it as anti-business as possible. Pritzker is actually like, yeah, no, I can't even get behind that, bro. Mayor Johnson, nobody likes you. He's lowest. I think he's the lowest approval rating of any mayor in the state, in the union right now, if you will. Right? I don't think anyone's as low as his approvals. I think he's single digits. He's up there with Macron. Like, him and Macron are pretty close. They're neck and neck. I think Mayor Johnson's actually worse, but first casualty of power bill crisis. Thank God. Pennsylvania, Fetterman's helping. Fetterman's helping. They're trying to kill the guy right now, is how serious Fetterman's helping, and they friggin' hate his ass. It's all it takes is one person that's got the balls to step out of line. Good on Fetterman, man. That's all I can say. I know people get pissed because he's got a D next to his name. I took shit from Manchin. Cinema, I never thought that was that great, but I took shit for them. Doesn't matter. And I take some shit from Massey, Rand Paul. Like, these guys, just Marjorie Taylor Greene. Fuck those three. Oh, my God. Pennsylvania abandons regional carbon trading market. They're not going to do it anymore. They're out of it. This started back in 2019. It's expensive. It's part of this whole nonsense where they're losing power and stopping it all. Yeah, they're cutting it out because it makes 0 sense. It makes it more expensive to have power. People can't get as much power as they need. It does nothing. And it certainly does not help the concept of possibly getting some of these data centers or anything like that, which are worth lots of money from a tax standpoint, into your own states and cities. So, Pennsylvania, good job. Gavin Newsom went down to Brazil with taxpayer money, by the way. There you go, guys. That's not coming out of some campaign fund. He's doing that out of California money because he was down there, quote, doing California business. He signed legislation that's non-binding. That was the work he was doing. Meanwhile, we're hurting for money. They spent, $250 million for the stupid election that they just cheated, and now they're going to redistrict, which we'll talk about in a second, is they're going to go to court against, which is cool. It probably is illegal. But hey, he's down in Brazil hobnobbing with some city down there, making a partnership with a city in Brazil, which obviously they're very socialist right now. Talk about ruining an amazing country. I've worked with a bunch of Brazilians, just beautiful people. Beautiful people. It's very sad what has happened down there. Justice Department is suing to block California U.S. House map in a clash that could tip control of Congress. We'll see what happens on this one. They're just saying that they're doing it based off of race. And if it is playing in any sort of way like that, then that is illegal. It goes against the 14th Amendment or whatever. So 14th and 15th, they oftentimes cite. But yeah, whatever the case is, it is... they're going to go into court to try to stop it, which is pretty awesome. I want to remind you guys, of course, of healthy living. Healthy home is one of my favorite ways to do that. I've certainly got a few products that are in line, and they're all a little different. I've actually been enjoying the Unimate. I've been doing that. I'm going to drink my second one after I finish recording. But I'm actually noticing it's nice. It's getting some good anyway, I'm enjoying it. I do feel like I got a little more energy and stuff. But anyway, that's not this commercial. I'm just excited about it. It's new. I love trying new stuff that it works, especially. That's how I feel about healthy home. I also got my Stem Active. Take it every day. Stem Active helps you get your stem cells up. Stem cells are the cells that help heal your body. When we age, I always talk about antioxidants. Well, it's the oxidation that ages us to a large extent. That's damage. Damage gets repaired by stem cells. When your stem cells production starts to decrease as we age, naturally does, then what happens is your body's not able to keep up with the oxidation process, and you begin to suffer from it. And they'll start from liver spots and everything on down, right? And then eventually you just start to shrink down. This actually helps you fight that. It's plant-based. There's no actual stem cells in it. It helps your body create 25 to 40% more stem cells, boom, right out of the gate. And now you're giving yourself a fighting chance to do something about your aging and about any damage you've got for that matter. You might have injured. It started with me. I had a shoulder injury, dislocated, and it was starting to hurt when I was working out. And I started taking the stem cells. I want to say within... I don't know, it was probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I was working out and I'm like, it doesn't hurt anymore. And it was just one of those things. It's kind of funny how healing happens when you finally realize you're not in pain anymore and you're like, wow, this is weird. This is awesome. That's how it was for me. Stem cells are amazing and very important. Balance, ladies, the ones going through the hormonal change. Basically, the baby years seem to be very difficult on the woman's whole body. Going into it is brutal. Women that are 13, right, 12, whenever that happens, right? That part, they're enjoying the benefits. And when you leave that part, right, that's also tough on women. Your temperatures, your mood, you're all over the place, right? It's like, I don't know. I can't understand it, obviously, but it's a very hormonal, imbalanced experience. Got a couple good lady friends that entrusted me with their personal experiences, and it helped me understand it better. Both of them were using the synthetic hormones. Both of them took balance. Now, One of them liked the synthetic hormones and kept taking them and took the balance. And when she started taking the balance, you just put a click, 2, 3 clicks, depends, but you put a little bit on your wrist, rub your wrists together, and boom, you're like almost immediately start feeling different. She did both, and she had great results and loved it. The other lady didn't like the synthetic hormones, but took the balance, might have had an extra click in there, I don't know, she might have started at 2, I don't know, but did that, and then it was just like, oh crap. Like, it's just this weird balance. It's like when the pain stops and you don't realize it, when the hormonal weirdness stops and suddenly you're like, oh, this is what feeling normal feels like again? Yeah, it gives you balance back. It helps relationships because you're no longer like all over the place and you're not necessarily like a friggin' furnace one second and then an ice cube the next, right? You can actually share a bed with somebody and not have to kill them. 14 potent plant-based. There's 0 hormones in this product, 0 hormones. So whether you're on synthetic hormones or not, women are raving about the balance. Like, again, I can't understand it from a personal standpoint, but I've talked to people that have been kind enough to explain it from their standpoint, and they're definitely digging it. Another one's amaze. It'll amaze you. Your collagen. So your sagging skin, your sore muscles, your joint discomfort, your lifeless hair or no hair or lack of hair or falling out hair. Collagen's one of the things you need. Collagen's all about this. Most pronounced protein in the body. It is amazing, and it's done in the peptide form. So it's these little itty-bitty liquid molecules, little itty-bitty tiny liquid molecules. You drink it. It's a little packet. It's delicious, by the way. It's probably one of the most delicious things they have that I've tried. The Prime is pretty good, but this stuff's dynamite. Man, I'd put that in you mix that with some vodka. Anyways, probably not a good idea, but I would do it. That said, it is amazing how good it is, and it's just you get that peptide, that small molecule, and it absorbs immediately into the body. That's what's so amazing about it. Well, and what it does. You'll be amazed, though. Trust me. Especially the sagging skin. If you're losing weight, I kind of recommend it because it helps with the fact that your skin's going to start. Like when you lose weight, you've got more skin than you need, right? Does that make sense? And if you lose weight too fast, you start to get very saggy skin. So it's one of those things where, one, you can start going to the gym, and that kind of helps fill out some of the sag, right? Put some muscle in there instead of just meat. But also, it helps your skin kind of become a little more elastic, and it'll get back to normal. But this certainly will help that process, especially if you're trying to lose weight. And it's one of the big things. Prime is another one. It helps you carry more oxygen through your blood. Long story short, it gives you more energy. You just got more energy. It's a trip. It's very delicious. It's powder. You just let it dissolve in your mouth, and you're off to the races, and it's incredible. And then stem cells, all the stuff I was talking about for you and aging and all that, your pets. It's a chewable tablet for your pets, about half the price of what you'd pay for adults or for humans. Stem Active, it's the same product for your little guys. Trust me, it makes a difference. It helps them heal. If they've had surgeries, any of those types of things. Stem cells can become any cell in the body. That's one of the big things. All said, you want to go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. You want to make sure you go there, choose what you want. There is ways to join. If you guys want to become your own, like if you love it and you want to become your own sponsors, you can actually join, become an executive member, I believe it is. And that, all you got to do is buy one thing. And there's a bunch of really cool ways to buy stuff. Like if there's a few products you want to get, I kind of recommend it because you get a break on the purchase and it actually gives you better prices. And you don't have to pay a monthly fee. If you just regular member, the middle one, you got to pay a monthly fee. It's kind of stupid, to be honest. I don't know why anyone would do that. Do the other one. You still get a link if you ever want to sell it to people. You got a link you can share with them. And if you don't, then you've just got a product that you're paying less for, and you can kind of control some things about it a little better than you normally would. Otherwise, you can just join as a customer. It's fantastic. You pay the little extra goes to me rather than to you. It's the big difference. All said, it's a great product. It's a great program, and I love these guys. They've been super good to me. danradiostyle.healthyhome.com, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Make those healthy choices, and you'll get healthy life, and that's what really all of us are going for, especially as we head through these transitions. We've got, yes, this was pretty awesome. I forget this lady's name. She's yes, noted, whatever. She's talking about, is this Rep? Director of National Economic Council said Thursday that the aspects of government employed furloughed during the shutdown will receive paychecks by early next week. I don't know why. I feel like I'm supposed to play this.
We take you live now to the White House, where an administration official is speaking to reporters. You're watching live coverage.
Well, our Council of Economic Advisors said that it costs about $15 billion a week and it accumulates to maybe 1.5% of GDP when you account for multiplier effects. And their current estimate is that 60,000 Americans, not government workers, have lost their jobs because of the reduced economic outlook.
Affordability has become a key word after Election Day last week. How has President Trump, from your perspective, made things more affordable for Americans?
Oh, I mean, the first thing that we've done is we've stopped the runaway inflation. And the second thing we've done is we've pushed policies that have caused incomes to grow a lot. But we understand that people understand, as they look at their pocketbooks and go to the grocery store, that there's still work to do. The way I summarize all the stats we look at is that real purchasing power for a typical worker dropped $3,400 under President Biden and has gone up $1,200 so far today. But Americans rightly are frustrated that they're still $2,000 short. And that's something that we're going to fix. We're going to fix it right away.
Kevin, Swiss negotiators were coming to D.C. last night to talk to the White House about a trade deal. Do you expect there'll be an agreement there?
I wasn't participating in that conversation last night, so I've not been read in yet.
On the economic impact of the shutdown, you mentioned that it will impact the GDP, economic GDP number. What magnitude?
Oh, yeah, it's about 1 to 1.5%. I think that at the beginning of the quarter, we were expecting a 3 to 4% GDP number in the fourth quarter, which would be consistent with the numbers over the last 2 quarters. And so now you're looking at something about half of that.
Kevin, how realistic are these $2,000 tariff checks that the president wants to send to all Americans? Is that actually going to happen?
Well, it's something that will require legislation. But if you look at how much tariff revenue has been coming in, then there would actually be enough room to cover those checks and not go into the rest of the budget. So yeah, there would be enough money to pay for the $2,000 checks.
So are you actually actively working with Congress to try to make that happen?
And we're actively studying the matter and getting the numbers straight so the president has all the choices he needs to decide what to do.
Just to clarify, when can furloughed employees expect to get paid back?
We expect that people who were actually brought back in as essential employees a couple days early so that the furloughed employees could get their checks as soon as possible. And I was really pleased to see some of my furloughed employees show up today, and there's a lot of hugging and smiling. I think that the payments will come probably early next week. I think that's what maybe even before. There really has been an aggressive effort to get people to get their checks as soon as possible.
Can you talk about the lack of economic data this month? How much is that going to impact you going forward, especially as you're talking about that issue of affordability?
Well, you know, there's some data. The September jobs report has already been cooked, and we expect we might get that next week. It just hadn't been released. The October employment report for the payroll side will be able to be calculated, but the household survey wasn't completed, so we'll get sort of half a jobs report. Most everything else, I think, we'll be able to concoct the correct number after we look back, but we will never know what the unemployment rate was in October because there wasn't a household survey. With that, I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you.
I wonder if that actually is going to help Trump's overall average, if you think about it, right? The fact that it's just missing a number. Like, what do they do? They're going to divide by 11, or are they going to divide by 12? And now he's missing a whole bunch of numbers, so it won't be it'll be lower. I don't know. Numbers are fun. This was pretty good too. Next step is to make everyone reapply for SNAP. Again, this government shutdown has put a lot of attention on some major things. I think that was also one of the many things that we gained from this, and a big victory in the larger sense. All said, here's this gentleman from Newsmax.
Yeah, Secretary Brooke Rollins joins us now to talk more about the numbers, and it's good to see you again, Madam Secretary. Was what we found out so far, I assume, is just the beginnings of an investigation into these programs, right?
Well, yeah, let me slightly adjust, and I've got actually big news for you, Rob. First, on day one when I was sworn in, which was earlier this year in February, the very first thing I did was send letters to every single state in America and said, never before has the federal government asked for the data, but it is a new day. President Trump is the president. We know there's a lot of fraud. We need to help partner with you all to figure out how to make sure that this money and these benefits go to those who truly need it and not rife with fraud and corruption. 29 states, mostly the red states, responded with their data sets February, March, April. So the numbers that you're talking through, those are numbers that we have been collecting and analyzing since early summer, late spring. Okay. The fact that this spotlight shined on SNAP has allowed us to talk about it. But here's the most unbelievable news I have really just over the last few days, that 5,000 dead people, that was just 1 month. the number is closer to 186,000 deceased men and women and children in this country are receiving a check. Now, that is what we're really going to start clamping down on. 500,000 are getting 2. But here's the really stunning thing. This is just data from those 29 mostly red states. Can you imagine when we get our hands on the blue state data, what we're going to find? It's going to give us a platform and a trajectory to fundamentally rebuild this program, have everyone reapply for their benefit, make sure that everyone that's taking a taxpayer-funded benefit through SNAP or food stamps, that they literally are vulnerable and they can't survive without it. And that's the next step here.
So you're telling me that 500,000 people are getting 2 checks. And let me start with, are those checks being cashed? And then as far as the dead people, are those checks being cashed? Or are they just being sent out and the money comes back?
No, the way that the program works is through the EBT cards, electronic benefit. So the checks don't really move. Instead, every state government has, we give the states the money, the states administer the program, which is why every state is so different, and the states then flow the money into those cards. So it is those cards that are full that either the person's dead or they're getting it twice. We found one guy in 6 states, the same guy, the same Social Security number, getting the same benefit in 6 different states and 6 different EBT cards. So these are the things that we're uncovering that for years no one's really ever dug into because the feds didn't have the system in place to do it. But we do now. The president has made this a priority. We will fix this program.
Does anybody that's doing fraudulent things they should be removed from the program at a minimum? Off. You're done. You can't get back on. Are the charges that are going to be filed? It sounds like we have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people committing fraud against the U.S. government.
That's right. In just the last few months, we've arrested about 120 Americans committing fraud on the system. One ring was up in the Northeast. I believe it was New Jersey, where it was about a $60 million SNAP fraud ring. You actually have some of the cartels, the criminal cartels, who have figured out, not necessarily from Mexico, but from around the world, that have figured out how to infiltrate into the system, into the certain state systems that are out there. And we are actively, with the DOJ, with a lot of the other investigation units around the country, already arresting. There's a lot of people already sitting in jail, but I think we're just at the very tip of the iceberg and what we're going to find.
And you're saying, and I just want to show an example here really quick, but there was a Somali restaurant in Minnesota that was found guilty of a $250 million fraud scheme that exploited federally funded child nutrition programs. They claimed they were taking in $12 million in child meal payments. They said they were feeding around 4,000 to 6,000 kids a day, but it was really only 40 people during 6 weeks. But they brought in $12 million to feed 40 people. You had a grocery store in Chicago stealing over $8 million in SNAP benefits. There is rampant fraud in this. People want to know why big government doesn't work and why these big, huge programs that the government wants to fund don't work. This is exactly it. And you're saying that the blue states are not letting you even see their data. So I would imagine that the numbers that you just gave us, about 500,000 getting 2 instead of 1, is going to be dramatically higher.
I think it's going to be dramatically higher. And Rob, when you marry that to the fact that under the Biden administration, he increased SNAP funding by 40%. Of course, this was 21, 22, 23. I think they were trying to buy an election, trying to put more people, into government programs. And so you see this sort of snowball that has really spun completely out of control. And again, we were working on this. We've been working on this since February. But I think the Democrats' unintended consequence of their craziness in voting 15 different times to keep the government closed, to not fund SNAP, to keep vulnerable families hostage, truly vulnerable families hostage that actually do rely on these programs. And all of that, the unintended consequences, now America has woken up. And even their voters see that this is not okay. Significant reform has to happen. Our taxpayers deserve so much better.
Amazing. The Secretary of Agriculture.
And again, it's super important to point out that they give the money to the states. Minnesota had the highest percentage increase by far during the Biden years than any other state. But when you look at a lot of the blue states, have very high percentages and populations on this SNAP program. They get the money first, and then they dole it out to the EBT cards, meaning they get to sit on it, they get the interest, and they get to decide who gets it. That's got to change, right? If it's federally paid for, the feds should get to audit it. The feds should have access to it. And the states would be like, well, that's not fair to us. It's like, why should we just trust you? Especially blue states. You won't even give us the records to let us look it over. We're not going to trust you. No. Sorry. If you aren't willing to prove it, then you don't get the money anymore. Shutdown bill last minute adds spurs scrutiny. They added some weird stuff. This is where I guess they took away the more of the THC products. The idea of calling it hemp-derived products is not really accurate. If it's got THC in it, it's not really the hemp, right? Am I wrong in this, guys? I'm pretty sure. I've been in this world for a lot of years. Hemp is basically the male plant, which does not necessarily have THC. So Anyway, whatever. THC products are, that's the bud. That's where, the leaves have it too. So I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's technically in there. Yeah, there you go. That's some nodules. Some nodges. Damn. Anywho, Mike Johnson was pissed that this stuff went through. He's basically passed it, but telling the Senate, like, y'all better do something about it. Or the House is even talking about maybe trying to put some bill through that will undo some of this bullshit that they added. Like, Mike Johnson was like, we did a clean CR, and you in the Senate did a dirty one. And basically, Thune sort of apologized that maybe this is what it required to get it over the edge. So they had to kick a few things out or, get rid of the hemp industry, which is weird because that pissed off Rand Paul. So you lost one person, but maybe gained, down in the Bible Belt or something, maybe. Down to Mississippi, Arkansas. So I don't know. Maybe not I don't know. Mississippi for sure. No offense to Mississippians, but you're probably way against marijuana. Probably hate that. Just devil's drug. I don't know. Pretty awesome stuff, actually. Canadian living in the U.S., but do it responsibly always, or legally. Canadian living in the U.S. gives us facts about universal health care. Everybody's talking about how much better it would be with universal health care. Well, here's somebody with universal health care. She's going to explain to you what it's actually like.
Hello, good morning. Canadian living in the U.S. Been here about a year and a half. I have my own little mission on the go where I try to understand the people that hate your current administration the very most. And one of the things that I've learned about these people is that we feel like universal healthcare is going to save all of the problems that are going on with the healthcare in this country. Now, I come from a country that has universal healthcare, had it for 32 years, okay? So please allow me to provide you with some facts. There will be long waits and doctor shortages. A quarter of Canadians don't even have a family doctor and or access to one. If you're lucky enough to get a doctor, I sure hope that you like them because you don't have a choice. Now, big misconception here is that it's free, okay? Universal healthcare is not free. You will be taxed nearly half of your income whether you use it or not. A lot of Americans don't realize how heavily Canadians are taxed just to sustain the system. You will be taxed on income, fuel, goods, property, and even carbon. One of the best parts about universal healthcare is that it doesn't cover everything. 70% of Canadians actually have to get private insurance on top of universal healthcare to cover all of the extras. The extras would be vision, dental, prescriptions, massage, physio, etc., etc. The list goes on. With universal healthcare, there will be budget restraints. So what does that mean? It means fewer machines. It means less access to some of the new advancements in technology with medicine. There will be less access to new drugs and new therapies, and they are slower to adopt the new medical technologies that come out. Healthcare workers are actually paid a lot less in Canada. So what happens? A lot of them are actually moving their practices stateside. Do you need a specialist? 6 months to a year. Easy. But don't worry, if you are too old or too sick to be fixed, they will offer you MAID, M-A-I-D, medically assisted death. Over 15,000 people chose medically assisted death in 2023. And by 2027, you will be able to get MAID if you are mentally ill. If that's not a scary thought, I don't know what is. 1 in 3 Canadians with anxiety, depression, or addiction do not have access to the help that they need. You want to talk about hospitals running at over 100% capacity? 15% of ER visits should have been visits to the family physician. Now, reminder, Canada has about the same population as the state of California, okay? So scaling universal healthcare from about 40 million people to 340 million people, it's not the same as managing 40 million people, especially with how unhealthy the United States is. Thousands of Canadians die every single year while they're waiting on a wait list and waiting to get treatment. 1 in 4 cancers are only found after a trip to the emergency room in Canada. If you don't believe me, talk to a veteran. Ask them about the VA. I've heard some absolute nightmares. And if that doesn't work for you, then head on down to your local DMV to see how it is when a government runs something. So yeah, free healthcare sounds great, but it also sounds fatal. Universal healthcare isn't free if you lose your life before you get treated.
I mean, it's not wrong. And the whole 40 million people thing, people really got to take into account. And the way she stated it, I was almost correct. And I mean, she's right, but she said it weird. It literally, the population of the state of California is the entire population of all of Canada. So the one state of California, same population as all of Canada. It's insane. And Canada, obviously California can't even manage its own self. Think about that, right? So just expand that out, extrapolate it out, and you got Obamacare on steroids. And yeah, there you go. And everyone's saying, well, we should pay taxes like they do. We already do, and we don't have that yet. Think about how much more the taxes will be. And the only people that really seem to be all for it are the ones, frankly, that are the sickest or the oldest. No offense to my audience, but I mean, I know some of you guys are a little older. But it's generally the sickest and the oldest are the most worried about healthcare and expect a lot. And I get it, but again, we've had this talk before. It's a tricky discussion that we're all going to have to walk through. I mean, death is a very natural part of life. Now, I don't think MAID's necessarily the way to go, but anyway, it's a complex thing, you know. Senate GOP deeply divided over next steps on rising healthcare costs. Yeah, they're jumping all over the place. Raise taxes, keep paying it, blah, blah, blah. Trump's like, yeah, no, here's what my idea is. And I like Trump's idea of, anyway.
Going to go down. It went the exact opposite with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. And you go out and you'll buy your own health insurance and you'll negotiate different plans and you'll get much better insurance and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself. So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved. And we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care. And we're going to forget this Obamacare madness. So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape.
Think about if they did something similar to that with SNAP. Taking the state out of it entirely, just like he's taken the insurance companies out of it entirely. They went up 1,000% in some cases. It was the one company. The rest of them were like, I don't know, like 800 to 500,000, like percent. I mean, it was all ridiculous. One of them made it over $1,000. All said, if you take it away from them, then you don't continue to raise those prices. They can't milk it like they were. They actually have to get lean and mean and competitive if they want those funds. And if not, well, we're not going to use you. You're too expensive. I'd rather just pay cash as a cash player with my SNAP card. I tend to get better prices anyway if we just remove insurance from the whole equation. Insurance companies can't handle that. It'll actually start to bring down that whole infrastructure, which, frankly, we need. Snap's the same way. Think of all the infrastructure that's probably been created in all the states. They get all the state money and pump out all this bullshit. What if we own that? What if we just basically said, hey, look, if you want Snap, fill out this form here online, all right, federal government. We will send you a new debit card in the mail immediately. I mean, as quick as they can make them, but I'm sure like banks and stuff, they could probably find somebody that could help create a bunch of cards that we could trust. That's not going to like create counterfeit ones. But get those out to the individuals. Make sure they can pass the certain things they need to pass to get the federal benefits. Take the states out of it completely. Now, the states would sue, but the reality would be, hey, look, we're trying to go straight to the people. They're going to get more of that money faster than they would otherwise. We're just taking the middleman out. And they're going to get pissed, the states, because they're milking the middle. This is going to be painfully awesome, but painful. And a lot of states are heavily going to go into the red. Heavily. And if they want any money from the federal government, any sort of bailouts at all, especially these blue states, well, you know they're going to have to do a whole bunch of stuff. And if they don't, even after the district court judges say, California, you've got to pay, or federal government, you've got to give California the money. And then that'll go up to the appellate court almost immediately, and they'll stay that stupid judge, you know, Boasberg or one of the other 5 judges that constantly keep randomly getting picked. By the way, we don't even talk about that anymore. You guys, isn't that funny? They randomly still getting picked, these specific judges that keep doing crazy shit. Whatever. We take that away. We're actually, well, one, it'd make government so much smaller all over the place. It'd force the states to have smaller governments because they wouldn't be able to afford it anymore. And it would force the federal government to be smaller because we are getting rid of it. The bloat is huge, and it needs to go, especially considering how much it's been politicized. Texas working to block cartels around after Trump policies shut down the border. They are trying to do these tunnels and stuff. We sort of talked about this yesterday. There's still some further, just more technologies going into this. They're surprising. Like, One thing a lot of people probably don't think, they think there's a tunnel, right? And then maybe there's some sort of weird, like Oscar the Grouch trash can and someone pops out of it and there you go. But it's like buildings and stuff. There's like buildings that have basements built into them and stuff. And so it looks normal. They can kind of explain the traffic. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that they're going to be, using drones, I'm sure, for, but there's going to be a lot of technologies that are going to be attached to drones, and they're going to be looking for things. So I'm kind of curious. We are so heavily spied on, and none of us are really bitching about it right now, are we? Because we're like, dude, they got tunnels everywhere. That's why the yee just went over. But at the same time, if it would have been during the Biden administration, we would have been freaking out, right? We would have been putting the tinfoil hats on for sure. U.S. designates European Antifa groups as terrorists. Where are the four of them? One of them's German. They're, let's see. The Antifa Ost in Germany. The Informal Anarchist Federation International Revolutionary Front in Italy. The Informal, I like that. And two Greece-based groups, Armed Proletarian Justice and Revolutionary Class Self-Defense. These guys are all been labeled as foreign terrorist organizations, which of course means we're going to begin bombing Italy tomorrow. Germany, you're next. I'm totally kidding. News at 11. Would be kind of something that freak a lot of people out, though. Border Patrol was shot and rammed with cars and bricks thrown at them in Chicago. Yeah, the violence is off the charts. But what's funny is their main dude, Greg Bovino, the Border Patrol boss, he's basically saying, hey, I can't believe how cool my guys are. My guys are like, we're in it, man. We're cool. Nah, it's all right. They rammed me with a car. No big deal. Just walked it off. Yeah, I got shot, but I'm bulletproof anyway. The escalation's occurring. It's happening in specific places. It's going to be, a lot of us are finally going to get that show we've been waiting for. So I just be patient. That's all I can say. If you live in one of these places, be safe is the only other thing I can say. I'm sorry you're there. It's not my fault, but I'm sorry you're there. Suspect wanted for attack on Alina Habba, so they're trying to get her. I assume this is, I hope, let's put it this way. I'm going to put some hope on this one. This is my own hopium on myself, but I'm hopeful that they're kind of doing this to get the person to think that they don't know who they are, so they'll kind of be a little more relaxed, or that they already do know and waiting for them to make a mistake. I don't know. I just, because maybe they're in hiding still. I feel like sometimes they put stories out like this, like we know who it is. We can't find them right now. They're in hiding. So if they think we don't know who they are, well, then they'll be like, oh, cool. And they'll come out of hiding and they'll be like, nab them. Because they got cameras everywhere, man. Everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. This Epstein stuff, this is a very, very funny post here. It was shared by Midnight Rider on Telegram. But at the top, they're like, Trump is in the Epstein files. And the dude's like, it says Epstein hates Trump. And then there's like screams, but Trump is mentioned, right? Blows off his glasses. That's pretty damn funny. So yeah, ravenous donkey. Donald Trump trooped this in regards to the Epstein hoax. Now that the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax involving Democrats, not Republicans, to try and deflect from their disastrous shutdown and all of their other failures, I will be asking AG Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, J.P. Morgan Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. This is another Russia scam with all arrows pointing to the Democrats. Records show that these men and many others spent large portions of their life with Epstein and on his island. Stay tuned. And there's a fun rabbit hole that I think there's some truth to. I don't know for sure. But supposedly Donald Trump was back in the day working with intelligence and or FBI with the Epstein thing to try to get him, Epstein, in trouble. Like he was actually working for the good guys. So maybe some of that's going to start coming forward, and maybe that's what we're starting to see. Lindsey Graham warns he's going to sue the DOJ for the $500,000 in the phone records. This is one of the other stupid Senate provisions that were put in there. The 8 people that, they didn't care about the House people, by the way. They didn't put that in there. Just the senators that they'll be able to sue, I think for up to $1 million. I don't think it's 2 different things somehow, but 500,000 at least, whatever. Some reason one of them's able to sue for $1 million. I don't remember what the difference was, whatever the case is. So they're 8 of these guys are probably going to sue. Now, 1, this comes out of taxpayer records. 2, nothing's really come out about their phone records, right? So why do they get to sue the DOJ for $500,000, us? Why do they get to sue me, the taxpayer, for something that didn't necessarily harm them? Like, I don't know. I'm a little bummed because I don't particularly, I mean, Lindsey Graham's been sort of okay lately. I certainly don't necessarily like him. But he's such a hawk. I don't know. And he was McCain's buddy. They're out there in Ukraine. I don't trust this dude at all. He might be on the good, though, okay? A lot of guys were given the choice. Epstein files, right? Keep in mind the Epstein files. A lot of guys were given the choice, the option. I'm sure Lindsey Graham's got his dirt all over the place, or at least the corruption that was going on in Ukraine and how much of that was ending up in his pocket in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure we've got dirt on Lindsey Graham. So he sounds like he's maybe playing ball on our side of the fence. So it's like, okay, I'll be nice. Rand Paul, I don't know what's happening to you. It's okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're off the reservation. Massey, you just suck and have for a long time. Yeah. I don't know what's going on in Kentucky, though. McConnell, what? Dude's like that robot I showed the other day. He's like Joe Biden. He's like, oh my God. Or that lady doing the breakdancing. Remember that country? That the breakdancing lady wasn't even, not one break. She got 0 points. 0 points. Not one breakdancing move. She didn't even try to do the worm. I mean, shit, do the worm. Hell, pop. She didn't do nothing. I don't remember what country she was from. It's still hilarious to me. Jordan opens probe into Virginia's prosecutor allegedly ignoring threats against Stephen Miller. Jim Jordan, rock star, again, investigation. Yay. I don't know what comes from these. Do you guys? Someone help me out. That's actually an email I'd love to get from one of you guys. Give me one example of something that actually came from. I know a couple things they've pushed them off for the FBI to do. It seems stupid that Congress has to do the investigation when the FBI. I don't know. I just help myself on this one. It just makes no damn sense to me. Whatever. He's got an investigation going. And again, I love Jim Jordan. Hey, he's super awesome. He's a wrestler. He's tough. I don't want to mess with him. I don't mess with that guy. Probably kick my ass. I'm sure of it. But still. Anyway. I gotta switch to decaf. Maybe it's the Uma Mate. It's giving me some energy. Give me some energy, people. I'm loving it. Feeling good.
This member of Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth's office, appearing to pose as a lawyer in an attempt to free an illegal immigrant from ICE custody. The DHS posting the video on X saying this Duckworth staff member allegedly claimed to be the lawyer of a 40-year-old illegal immigrant who had been deported to Mexico 4 times and had DUI conviction in order to seek his release from custody. He accomplished this by falsifying an official Department of Homeland Security form. We look forward to a response from Senator Duckworth. And then there's former chief of staff to California Governor Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, the corruption's all over the place. It's coming out, guys. It's coming out. And what's the way, I don't know, I kind of appreciate the way it's coming out. I always talk about optics. I always talk about how you got to heat things up to really get them to work. And it's sort of happening that way. I don't know. It's happening in a weird heating fashion, though. There's little thingies kind of all starting to bubble up. And it's just like, oh. And it's a grand conspiracy that we're ultimately building, right? So, it's coming together. It's huge. It's going to be a fun few months. We're going to go through a freaking dark night of hell at some point, and then, it should start getting a lot better after that, hopefully. Freedom Caucus members cheer Russ vote ending unlawful funding through the Fed. This is pretty cool. He's literally closing out the money. It's not fully closed out, but CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is an administrative organization that literally goes directly to the Fed. Doesn't get money from Congress, isn't paid somehow by the executive branch, even though it's in the executive branch. It goes straight to the Fed. The Fed's like, all right, here's the money you asked for. That's your budget? Okay, here's the money. Taxpayers are on the hook. Nobody overseeing it. So they cut the money in half, basically, that we are allowing them access to. And there is a movement to shut these guys down. So people are giving Russell vote big, like fist bumps and forearm bumps and whatever the hell else you got to do to feel like you chest bump maybe, right? Supreme Court sets date for transgender athlete's case. Very cool. January, but, whatever. I hate looking at that picture because I'm like, I don't know. I think I know which one the boy is, but then I'm like not sure, and I don't want to stare at a butt and then find out it wasn't. And then I'll feel weird. Switzerland gets a U.S. tariff rate cut to 15%, pledges $200 billion in U.S. investments by like 2028, which is interesting. So whatever the case is, we're making some sweet deal with Switzerland. They're probably buying some military craft, would be my guess. But yeah, they lowered it down to the 15% rate from 39. All said, let's see, stats. So let's just do a forced refresh rather than wait for it. Yeah, it's kind of flat today. Down a little, up a little. Gold's down a little. Gold's down a bunch, 2.4%. Gold's been very flighty. Silver's been uppity, downy. Again, when it moves in big swings, guys, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. And again, I'm not going into drslikesgold.com. Remember that. We'll talk about it more. You get a free 1%. It's got to close by November, but that's not the commercial we're doing. We're doing My Pillow. They gave a deal. I guess Mike Lindell was thinking he was going to come on my show, and they just hit me up on Wednesday, and they're like, hey, so what is it, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock? What time you want him on? And I'm like, huh? Like, I didn't, what? You guys got to give me a small heads up, man. I don't just have, like, holes in my schedule that are waiting for Mike to fill, So I feel bad. I wanted to have Mike on. I love having Mike on. But all said, yeah, he hit me just kind of out of the blue on that one. It's been a while. I didn't know what was up. So yeah, blowout sales they got going on. They've got these awesome children's Bible story pack pillows, a 5-pack of them for $29.98. This is Christmas time, folks. It's all the beautiful Bible stuff, and they're doing it in the 5-packs, which is super cool. It's an early Black Friday special. This is what they were offering specifically because Mike was supposed to be coming on, and she said, I told her, I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry, you might want to wait until next time. She's like, no, you can have it. And then they got the blankets, comforters, and duvets. $25 as low as. Early Black Friday events. They got some really, really cool stuff going on. You, of course, want to go to mypillow.com/OTF. That's mypillow.com/OTF. You can also call 1-800-544-8939. 1-800-544-8939. And that will get you in the door as well. And it still gives me credit, too, by the way. Mattress topper, $149.97. You got $100 free shipping. So it doesn't even, it says on orders $100 and more. This time it doesn't specifically say not counting mattresses and toppers. So I don't know if that's whatever, but $149 puts you over that magic mark. Topper is a good way to get some life out of a mattress. If you got a mattress that's older and you don't really want to buy another mattress, and I don't blame you because it's a pain in the ass, topper, I'm telling you, $149. That will get your life back for a number of years. They're really awesome. They're really awesome. Very comfortable, too. You'll trip the first time you lay down on them. We've got the awesome socks. You want to check those out. Of course, Mike Lindell's My Cross. He's got two versions of it. They're sterling silver. There's a men and a women's white inner with a black outer, and they got the silver outer with the white or black inner, like this one on the screen. All good stuff. Great coffee. This Rev 7 drink is delicious and totally high energy. They've got the Giza Dream Sheets. That's a high thread count. You're saving 50% or more even on these. These are beautiful sheets. These are actually the ones I use. I love these sheets. Super deep pockets, easy to get that fourth corner on. I just friggin' love them. Love them. I don't use I haven't used any of the other ones, I'll be honest. So it's hard for me to talk about how good or bad they are, but they're cheaper. So that's all I know. The towels are incredible. I've got the premium and the regular. I would say whenever they offer the premiums, I would jump on them if you can because they are a little bit better, but their regular towel is so bar none better than any other friggin' towel out there. You'll know the second you do it. $39.98 and you get a great colors, choices to choose from, but you got the 6-pack, the standard, the washcloth, the hand towel, and then the bath towel, right? Very good stuff, and they're beautiful, and they're amazing how well they work. They literally absorb. They're better than Bounty. Bounty's the quicker picker-upper. Yeah, these are even faster. It's the rapid, faster picker-upper. They're even better. Yeah, all that said, and if you love your dog, if you actually love your dog, and I don't mean one of these people out there that pretend loves their animal, whatever. You put your dog in a crate, stuff like that. You might have to. That's okay. Whatever. Get a My Pillow for them. Let them sleep on a friggin' pillow. Whatever room you're in, that's where the pillow should be. They start as low as $39.98. Just show your dog how much you love them. That's all I'm saying. Especially if you got a golden retriever. They know what's up when you do. They're like, really? You're giving me a freaking awesome-ass bed? And then he's probably thinking to himself, Mike Lindell, I know. Right? It's awesome. Go to mypillow.com/OTF. mypillow.com/OTF. Get the best night of sleep you've ever had. Seriously. You're going to love it. Every way, shape, and form. UAE-based DP company, some crazy-ass company, biggest old company, been 30-year concession agreement that they've got going on with this giant port in Syria. And they're basically putting a bunch of money into it and planning on making this thing sing. So Syria is joining the current world. Now, I'm going to say it again. My overall general theory is in the next few years, I don't know, I've heard by 2030, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. Don't really know for sure. I don't think anybody really does. We should, though. And at some point, I feel like it should be visible to us. That's all I can say without saying too much. I mean, again, believe what you want. But I think we need everybody united to help with what could potentially be coming. So we'll see how that plays out. And this has nothing to do with 3i Atlas. So it might, but it's not in the same way. All said, it's getting Syria up to speed, and they're going to start kind of joining the real world. Yeah, they need cranes and all sorts of stuff. That's another thing. I woke up in the middle of the night, watched a cool show on how the cranes work in the sea. The largest cargo container craft, I think was what it was. OCCA, or I don't know, whatever the hell it was. Hegseth announces Operation Southern Spear. This is that whole narco-terrorism thing. This is actually a pretty decent little video that this dude does, kind of covering just the air power. What's up? I don't know, he covers the big picture pretty well. Check it out.
So think about it. With all that's going on right now, how about this? The world's biggest aircraft carrier is now off the coast of Venezuela. I'm Blake Berman, host of The Hill on News Nation. So let me show you some of what's happening here in our southern hemisphere and what it could mean for our troops at home, abroad, wherever they might be, really. The USS Gerald R. Ford arriving in the Caribbean this week, and it is the latest show of U.S. military might in the region. Look at this thing. It is huge, as tensions, of course, continue to escalate with Venezuela. It follows this. We've seen these, right? One after the next for weeks now. The U.S. striking alleged drug boats in the Caribbean, also in the Pacific Ocean. In all, 19 strikes that we know of on at least 20 boats. The administration posting videos of these strikes over the course of 10 weeks. Now, the strikes are happening as the tensions rise, as I mentioned, between the U.S. and Venezuela, right? And this is where our military assets are in the region, whether it's just off the coast of Venezuela, out to the east, Puerto Rico, Central America as well. That's where our troops are stationed. It includes, for example, guided missile destroyer ships, warplanes, helicopters, drones, you name it. The Pentagon has also flown bombers near Venezuela's coastline. Now, as for the USS Gerald R. Ford, it brings a ton of capability. This is some of it here. You got the Super Hornet, a Growler, the advanced Hawkeye, Seahawk, a Greyhound, and also 4,000 sailors. These are the assets that come with that huge aircraft carrier. Now, President Trump has floated the idea of land strikes inside Venezuela to combat drug cartels. Venezuela reportedly preparing, as they put it, a guerrilla-style defense if an attack comes. Trump saying war with Venezuela, though, is unlikely. Those were recent comments that he made. But he also believes that the leader there, Nicolas Maduro, that his days at the helm are numbered. Now, with all these assets piling up off the coast, think about it. The president had to move all this stuff in, right? It took time, weeks. So now it's wait and see. What does the commander-in-chief do, if anything, with them? I'm Blake Berman. I'll see you.
This was a big movement of giant chess pieces to a specific location near us. I still swear, near the Panama Canal. I'll almost guarantee that these are going to be used to take control of the Panama Canal, unquestionably. We're just using this as an excuse for being in the area. Would we need to go to war with Venezuela? No. No. I would be reasonably sure if we really, really wanted to end any sort of drug production there, it would be a matter of a few strikes. And once you blow up a few drug kingpins' homes and their entire residence and then coca fields and stuff like that, I don't know, there's not a whole lot else you got to do, right? So again, I don't think this is something where you need a land war. You're not trying to necessarily take over the country. And I think they're basically just trying to force Maduro to make a deal and get the heck out and let that chick take charge, like she should. Israel wants broader security agreement with the U.S. They're trying to renegotiate now because they know it's a different landscape, different world. And anyway, they're trying to get some more of that money. Israel gets a butt ton of money from us. And they signed this deal. It's about to expire in 2028. They're hoping to strike it sooner than later. I think Trump is going to play this very, again, save Israel for last. That's all I got to say. You know, Q-Post made it very strong about that. And so we'll see how this all plays out. But I don't think Israel's going to get quite what they want. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to what they want. And I think a lot of it's going to depend on how good they can be. They keep bombing into Yemen. They keep doing other things that they shouldn't be doing. So I don't know what the hell Israel's actually doing. And again, this is the deep state portion. Do also want to point out that I think it's funny that Avi Loeb is from Israel as well, by the way. And Harvard. Let's see. Double E whammo. U.S. is running out of things to sanction Russia for. I mean, Marco Rubio, it's kind of almost funny, frankly, but he's not wrong. And there is a little kind of add to that.
To what extent did it come up, like to further strengthen?
Well, there's not a lot left to sanction from our part. I mean, we hit their major oil companies, which is what everybody's been asking for. Obviously, those have to be implemented, and it'll take some time to begin to feel it. But, I mean, I don't know what more there is to do. I mean, we're running out of things to sanction in that regard. Well, Shadow Fleet is an enforcement mechanism, and obviously sanctions have to be enforced. So, we don't put sanctions and then not enforce them. We're interested in enforcing them as well. So, but that's more of an enforcement matter. And Shadow Fleet has come up because I do think there are things that the Europeans can do on Shadow Fleet, since a lot of these are happening in areas much closer to them.
Yeah, rather than constantly trying to get the United States to have to take care of all this stuff, Trump's like, no, you guys take care of it. This is such a big damn deal to you, right? You guys are the ones that want this war to continue. Every time we've tried to actually cease fire it, you all get together with Zelensky and go, no, we'll give you everything. All right, and fuck you guys. You go ahead and pay for it. You take care of the problem. We don't give a shit. We've sanctioned them. We smacked them on the wrist. Trump's trying to be cool with Putin, trying to stop the war. You don't end wars with people that you keep antagonizing. That's certainly not how you do that, right? That's not cool. U.S. sanctions strand a third of Russia's crude oil export ships. They're just out in the sea right now, full of oil, and people are like, "Yeah, I can't buy it right now, man. Sorry, I told somebody I wouldn't." So yeah, India, China are buying much less, if not any, Russian oil. So it's not working good. Oil prices soar after Ukraine managed to get a pretty solid attack on a Russian refinery of oil. Ukraine's they're able to sneak in some painful attacks. I mean, they're not hurting people. They're not going to win this war, but they're economically hurting Russia. Yeah, that was a big boom. Big boom. That caused a problem. So anyway, yeah, that was some sort of Russian Black Sea port. Needless to say, that went boom. But yeah, unfortunately, hundreds of drones swarm in Kiev, and well, Russia is certainly able to do far more damage than the other way around.
One of Russia's biggest attacks on Kyiv lit up the Ukrainian capital's night sky early on Friday. Ukraine officials said the massive attack, involving over 400 drones, killed several people as it targeted energy facilities, apartment buildings and infrastructure. Anastasia described the moment her apartment block was hit.
I was terrified. So
I couldn't really handle the rest of the video from here when she's just sitting there petting her cat, talking about how horrible things were. It's just a weird video. Anyway, yeah, nasty. German Chancellor tells Zelensky young men should return and defend their homeland. He's like, you can get the F out of here, man. We don't like you. We don't want you. There's too many of you. Germany's really putting their foot down on immigration of all kinds. Germany, of course, a little resistant towards the Russian-y people and Poland's Polish. In fact, there's some upset feelings between those two countries right now, which wouldn't surprise me. It's got some past pain to go through, right? U.S. monitoring Russian ship operating over in international waters near Hawaii. Big whoop. It's one Russian ship. It's probably a spy ship of some kind. I don't know if we've got a rocket launch or a rocket test of some kind happening, or a laser test. We've probably got some sort of weird test that's happening over in Hawaii, and they know it more than we do as public, and are probably there to spy on it, so whatever. Russian Su-30 fighter plane crashes near the Finnish border. Su-30 is a pretty nice plane they got. It's fun. I got a video game, DCS, Digital Combat Simulations. Oh man, that's a fun one. If you guys like flight simulators, get DCS, baby. DCS is rad. The Su-30 is one of the ones you start with. It's pretty cool. But they've got all sorts of different aircraft. It's freaking cool. Yeah, if you like that kind of stuff. X-Plane's really fun too. I love X-Plane. I enjoy the hell out of that. There's supposedly a new version of that. I got to check it out one of these days when I've got actual time to play video games. Miss those days. Maybe I'll get back into it when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes back out. Hopefully sooner. Here's my lovely Alice Tang, this time looking much more prepared for the freeze frame.
The U.S. has approved a proposed $330 million sale of fighter jets and aircraft parts to Taiwan, the first such move since President Trump took office. The Pentagon says the sale will help Taiwan keep its F-16s, C-130s, and other aircraft ready to meet current and future threats. Taipei thanked Washington, saying the deal continues the long-standing U.S. policy of providing Taiwan with the means to defend itself and deepen a security partnership it calls essential to stability in the Indo-Pacific. Taiwan's defense ministry says the parts will boost fighter readiness and strengthen air defenses. They will also help the island counter China's escalating gray zone incursions, the near-daily pressure campaign Beijing conducts around the island. China reacted angrily, repeating its claim that Taiwan is its territory and calling the issue the core of China's core interests. Meanwhile, Japan today repeated
The core of that was redundant. That's what I would say. That said, yes, lovely lady. I noticed she stopped wearing the metallic eye stuff. What's up? Just because I said I liked it? Is that what's going on, sweetheart? That's not cool. Where'd you go? You broke. I lost her. See? She's that pissed at me. That's what happened. She's like, stop it, Dan. All right, whatever. India opens airbase near China. Don't know why this matters. It's a giant runway, 1.7 miles long. That's hugely significant. I can't imagine India has much craft that needs that much runway. I would be very, very surprised. So, I don't know. It's a weird location, too, I think. So, there's a part of me that's wondering if this could possibly be a deal that Trump's maybe making. I don't know. I wonder. This is the thought that came to my mind. We'll see what plays out over time. I think it's not going to look like that for a while, but I actually think this might be a deal that Trump's trying to make with Modi, and he's like, all right, you give us that location. You let us use that or have that for a little while. We'll pay you a bunch of money. And China's going to be pissed at you, and they'll probably be like, that's okay. We don't like them either. Anyway, them and the Pakistanis, fuck them both. So, well, we'll see. I don't know. I want to just... Judge denies Apple and OpenAI. They are trying to dismiss Elon Musk's antitrust lawsuit against him. A long story short, Musk is pissed because OpenAI has access to Apple, and they get access to all of the Apple users' data. And I assume it's anybody that has the AI on your phone, but then if you've got an iPhone, you can't turn it off. Like on mine, I can turn off Gemini. Gemini is not on my phone, and I don't have the microphone on. There's a lot of things I turn off, and I don't give access to a lot of stuff. Like, I don't think you can do that on an iPhone. I don't think you have that level of control. So, I don't know. That's what he's pissed about, is basically it's like unfair to Musk. You know, maybe, I don't know if he gets access to all their information. If he gets the X app on your phone, probably, most likely would have access to all that. But again, he has to get X on your phone to do that versus it just comes that way. So he's pissed, and he's suing. I don't know. They're letting it go forward. New Jersey pilot's first known fatality from the meat allergy caused by a tick bite. I don't know what's going on, but this guy collapsed and died after eating a hamburger. You know, of course, it has to be this meat thing, but he said it happened a little while back, like a week or two before. He ate a steak. Yeah, here he was. First noticed red meat made him sick after eating a steak on a family camping trip during the last summer last year. Again, that steak on this camping trip, how fresh was it? How poorly did you take care of it, right? So how badly did you cook it? Was it still red in the middle and it had like bacteria? So yeah, you might have gotten sick. And then they had burgers, a barbecue that him and his wife attended 2 weeks later, and he had a burger and died. And they're blaming this tick. Alpha-gal syndrome, they're calling it. I think this sounds like trumped up bullshit. It's what it sounds like to me. This dude probably didn't know how to cook meat, got sick and died 2 times in a reasonably short period of time, got sick eating red meat. First off, if you got sick eating a steak, you're like, I don't know, red meat makes me sick now. And then you're like, oh, burgers? Okay. I mean, what are you, fucking Homer Simpson? What the shit? That's just retarded on top of retarded. So I don't know. I don't buy this for a second. I feel like this is meant to freak you out. Like, oh, watch out. If it's got a tick with a yellow dot on it, it looks like that's a, I don't know fucking why it's got a yellow dot. Ticks don't normally have yellow dots on them. At least the ones I've seen. I hate ticks are nasty. Ugh. Nasty. Mysterious black ring over Disneyland. This is my neck of the woods. Oh, this is sad too. K-pop singer collapsed. Just collapsed. They think she's got an eating problem right now. Oh, there you go. We lose the cool part where she collapses. Yeah. Boo. Bye, sweetie. Yeah, anyway. Neither here nor there, but Asian person. Sorry, can't help it. Circle over Disneyland. A lot of people are like, what the heck is this? KTLA, which I think it's Channel 5 or Channel 11, one of the two. I think it's one of those. They're like, oh, we talked to somebody, and they said Disneyland said they were practicing their pyrotechnic stuff, and so they were doing that. So they somehow can put a circle in the sky. Doesn't look like a very good circle, by the way, but I believe it, don't believe it. I don't know. That's like a weird circle. Maybe they're able to ionize the air a little bit, and so the circle can move a little bit, but it wasn't moving. It was kind of staying where it was at. That's why it was tripping people out. And, of course, everybody's like, up in arms because 3i Atlas, so that was probably a 3i Atlas sighting, and they're trying to highlight it in the sky. This is where to look! Right here! Look right here! Whatever the case was. I mock a little. I'm sorry. It's a time. We have to. We've got a lot going on. I got an awesome music show. I don't know if people are going to be excited about it. Well, British people. I got a couple British friends out there. British rock and roll, man. It's good. I got such good stuff. Again, most of us Americans don't realize how much of our music that we love. This is actually British artists. So you're going to be super stoked. Like the Police. I've got a really cool Police song, just as an example, right? Like, oh yeah, they are British. I know, right? I got a lot of bitchin' ass British songs. Of course, I got Zeppelin in there. Who else we got? Got a whole bunch of really good stuff in there, and I think you're going to enjoy the show. It was a lot of fun when I started recording it. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a fun show. So looking forward to having you guys join me. That's going to be live 3 p.m. Pacific on Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's when I do it live, but you can listen to it afterwards. Usually just some really good music and a little bit of commentary, having some fun. So we'll be doing that today as well. Had the Law of One show yesterday, and if you had a chance to check it out, cool. If that's something you're into, if not, what? Law of Swan? I don't know what that is. Shawarma? What is that? Nobody even knows. Same thing. We got a lot going on, folks. I love you guys. We're going to keep pushing forward. Something's building in the background. There's a big something coming. I don't mean the thing that's going to be like a black swan. I mean, that's coming too. But no, I feel like there's a big move the Trump administration is going to be making here. Like, I don't know if it's the why we got the aircraft carrier where we got it. I don't know if it's going to be the executive order for elections, and then that whole ball's going to start rolling. I don't exactly. Epstein, something we don't even know about yet. Like, I don't know, but there's something. I just feel it. I don't know about you guys. There's something big. Like, it's been slow lately. I feel like we're ramping up to it. It's weird as hell. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll be here to talk about it when it happens. We'll certainly do it together. That's what I always talk about. Because where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.